Welcome to the fourth Project Waka Walkaround since construction began back in March 2011. Jeff Hodson, Property Services General Manager, takes us on a tour of the site and its progress to date. We now enter the site. You will see the main reception and waiting room to the right. Directly ahead of the main entrance is the corridor known as Main Street. This leads to other areas of the hospital, as well as the central courtyard. To the left of this, with the blue wall, is the emergency department reception and triage area. Here we go through the double doors to the emergency department. Jeff points out the ambulance bay access to our left. They will have direct access into the department. We continue through to the emergency department. To the right is the clinical staff station, painted orange, with treatment rooms around the perimeter of the station. We have now walked through to the acute care area, which contains ICU, CCU, HDU, and the short stay beds. And then into the paediatrics ward. The half-height wall to the right will be the clinical staff station for the department with the office behind. From the main corridor, we then walk into the imaging area and go into one of the CT X-ray rooms. The walls to these rooms are lined with lead. We then go up into the plant room, which acts as the engine room for all of the areas we have just visited, supplying power, water, and ventilation. We then leave the imaging reception area, arriving back on Main Street, and continue our journey towards the courtyard area. We have now arrived at the glass-covered area providing access to the central courtyard. There will be a wayfinding board on the wall here. Jeff points out that the paediatrics department sits at the end of the corridor to the left, with access to the inpatient medical and surgical wards to the right. Directly ahead is Main Street, where a mural will run the entire length of this section of the corridor. To the right of the wayfinding board, we follow the corridor down to the theatre area. Directly ahead will be access through to the current main corridor, and to the left here we enter the theatre waiting room. This next area is Theatre 1, with the door at the rear to the dirty corridor, where used instruments are sent to be sterilised. We then walk through to the recovery area, and then through to day stay. All the gas-oxygen connections over the beds will have to go through a process of being individually checked and signed off by a registered anaesthetist and anaesthetic technician. We now resume our tour back on Main Street and commence the walk up to the inpatient wards area. This is one of the 4-bed ward rooms at the surgical end of the inpatient area, and the view looking out into the courtyard. Walking along the wards corridor up into the main medical and surgical wards area, and looking up towards the paediatrics area. To the right is one of the staff bases, and the corridor to the rehabilitation area. And continuing down to the end of the medical and surgical areas, to the double doors which lead out to the helipad. We are now outside the front of the hospital. You can see that the red canopy is covering the hospital's main entrance, while work to this area is being completed. The car parking to this area is now complete and has provided many more public car parking spaces. That brings us to the end of our tour. We want to thank you for your patience during the new build of the hospital and look forward to its official opening in May 2014. We hope you have found this informative.